welcome to a video discussing about are decimals better than fractions? So let me give you a common mistake that I see students make whether in math classes. Say they have 5 1/3 plus 9 1/6, and they're supposed to add those together. Or there's some sort of situation where they're dealing with fractions and math and whatnot. A lot of times students will pull out their calculators, their phones, and they'll say, okay, 5 1/3, well, that's 5.33. I'll just kind of round it a little bit. 9 1/6, well, that's 9.16. And so if I add them together, I get 5.33 plus 9.16, that's 14.49. Something to that degree. And so then they put down their answer, and they're done. Now, the correct answer, if you do your fraction right, is exactly 14.5. Exactly. And so if you get into comparing answers, 14.49 is close. And so sometimes in math, there's situations where we do want to round. We do have a reasonableness to our answer. But sometimes in math, we want to be exact and precise and spot on and not having to do any rounding or wishy-washing or sliding things around. So in this case, 14.49 is technically not true. That's not correct. That is not what 5 1/3 plus 9 1/6 equal. It's an approximation, but 14.5 would be an exact answer. So when we talk about are decimals better than fractions, in some cases you're better off working with fractions, keeping your answer in fraction form, going through and just doing the work of fractions and getting your final answer. In this case, trying to do a shortcut of converting it into decimals and then doing the math can really lead you to make rounding errors or not come out with things the way they should. Now, with that said, if I gave you 5 and 25 40ths plus 9 and 2/10, well, then that would make sense if you can actually get perfectly solid, exact terminating decimals. So 5 and 25 40ths, if I do 25 divided by 40, I can rewrite that as 5.625. That is exactly right. It terminates. I'm not doing any rounding. 5.625 is exactly the same as 5 and 25 over 40ths. 9 and 2/10 is exactly the same as 9.2. There's no rounding. There's no difference there. It's just one form to another. And so then in that case, I can add them together. 5.625 plus 9.2, and you get 14.825. That would be an acceptable case of taking fractions, turning things into decimal equivalents, and then doing the math, because I know I've been working with terminating decimals. My answer is exact. I could put it back into a fraction form if I want to, but 14.825 is a good, solid, exact answer. In that case, it doesn't matter, decimal or fraction. Both of them are the same thing. And so if it's easy to do with decimals, then go ahead and turn to decimals. So hopefully that helps you understand some of this idea about when is it okay to use decimals, when is it not, when is it better to use fractions, when can you get away with just using decimals. But gives you some insight as you're doing your math class. If you can keep it exact, you're fine using decimals. If you have to round them to make them work, then you're better off sticking with fractions.